There's just something about these stories that make you want to curl up on a couch with a cup of tea, isn't there? Welcome back to our channel where we bring you the best feel-good stories. Today we have a story titled The Letters She Never Sent. It is written by a user. Let's jump right in. Ethan was a quiet soul, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke. He worked in a small seaside bookstore where the air always smelled of salt water and old paper. Every Thursday, without fail, a woman named Claire would walk in. She had an easy smile, but eyes that looked as if they were holding back an ocean. She always came alone. She always bought the same tea. And she always lingered at the shelf of romance novels, running her fingers over the spines as if each one was a memory. Ethan noticed the way she would sometimes sigh when she thought no one was looking. One Thursday, as she left, she forgot something, a small notebook, worn and frayed. The next morning, when the shop was still quiet, Ethan picked it up. His heart pounded in his chest, not from fear or excitement, but because of the sheer audacity of what he was about to do. Curiosity overcame him. He opened the notebook. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. Each one began the same way. Dear Ethan, I wish I could tell you this in person. He froze. She had been writing to him for months, maybe years, but never sending them. What if she found out? But then he thought, what if this was his chance to tell her how he felt? Was it too late? Should he let her go? His heart ached as he read those words. Imagining her sitting here pouring her heart out onto paper only to watch him leave without a word. In the letters, she wrote about how she first saw him arranging books on a rainy morning and thought, he feels like home. She wrote about the days she wanted to talk to him, but her courage failed. She wrote about how love, for her, was always unspoken, and how she was tired of loving in silence. The more he read, the deeper his feelings for her grew. Each letter tugged at his heart, making him feel like he knew her, even though he hadn't heard her voice or seen her smile up close. He imagined her sitting at a table in a cafe, writing, pouring her heart out to someone who would never read her words. With each turn of the page, his determination to find her grew stronger. But the question remained, should he reveal that he had read her private thoughts? Or should he let her go, respecting her silence? As the sun set outside, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Ethan made his decision. He would show her the letters. Maybe it was foolish, but he couldn't bear the thought of her giving up on love, especially when he, too, had feelings for her. He folded the letters carefully and placed them back in the notebook. Then he added his own letter. He slipped the letter inside her notebook and waited for morning. The next day, she didn't come, nor the next. A week later, he learned from a neighbor that she had moved to another city suddenly. No forwarding address. A part of him was relieved, but another part felt like it had lost a piece of its soul. Months turned into years. The seasons changed, but his feelings for Claire never faded. He held on to the notebook, rereading her letters whenever his heart needed reminding of the kind of love that defied silence. One spring morning, he walked into the shop and froze. Claire was there, holding a copy of her favorite book, smiling nervously. Her eyes, the ones that had once held back an ocean, were now shining with unshed tears. I moved back, she said softly. I thought maybe you'd forgotten me. Her voice trembled as she reached out for the notebook. He placed it in her hands, hoping she could feel how much he cared about her through the worn cover. She opened it slowly, her fingers tracing the faded ink of her own words. As she read, her hands shook. Tears fell, the kind that are both grief and joy. Ethan watched, his heart breaking for the pain she had endured and rejoicing in the hope that rekindled in her eyes. When she finished reading his letter, she looked up at him, her gaze intense. You could have told me, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I thought you didn't know. He shook his head, his throat tight. I didn't want to lose you, Claire. The silence stretched between them, filled with the unspoken words that had finally found their voice. She took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I've waited so long for this," she confessed, her voice catching. "For someone to understand the words that dance in my heart." Ethan felt a lump forming in his throat. He wanted to reach out, to touch her hand, and tell her everything would be all right. He wanted to say he understood, but words failed him. So he simply stood there, letting his silence speak volumes. Claire reached out, her fingers finding his, their hands intertwined, and in that moment, the years of unspoken words melted away. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "I've loved you for a very long time." Her words hung in the air, soft yet powerful, echoing the sentiments of countless letters that had once remained hidden. He squeezed her hand gently. "I know," he replied, his voice hoarse with emotion. "I read your letters." A faint smile touched her lips, lighting up her face like a beacon in the gathering dusk. "You read them?" she echoed, her tone filled with surprise and a hint of amusement. "You actually read them all?" Ethan nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. Every single one, he confirmed, a warmth spreading through him that had nothing to do with the shop's old heating system. A comfortable silence settled between them, a silence that spoke volumes without saying a word. It was a silence filled with understanding, empathy, and a shared history of unspoken emotions. Claire gazed up at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Do you still feel that way?" she asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. He cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing away a stray tear that had escaped. "About you," she clarified, sensing the myriad emotions swirling in his eyes. "Yes," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. More than anything, her fingers tightened around his, and she leaned against him, finding solace in his solid presence. As the minutes ticked by, they stood there embraced, lost in a world of their own. The letters she never sent became a testament to their enduring love, a silent symphony of emotions that had finally found their crescendo. In the quiet confines of the bookstore, surrounded by the comforting aroma of old books and brewing tea, Ethan and Claire found solace in each other's presence. They talked for hours, their voices hushed but animated, sharing stories, dreams, and fears. It was as if the years of silence between them had given birth to 1,000 unspoken conversations, each one more precious than the last. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the floor, they made a decision. It was a decision born out of the shared history that bound them together, the silent understanding that had deepened with each passing year, and the love that had bloomed despite the absence of words. They would start over. They would build a future together, brick by brick, word by whispered word, creating a life that was a testament to their enduring connection. And so it began. Theirs was a love story that defied the constraints of silence, a tale of two souls who found each other amidst the stacks of books and the comforting scent of old paper. It was a love story that whispered to all who heard it that sometimes the most profound connections are forged in silence, and that love, in its most authentic form, needs no words to be spoken. The sound of laughter echoed through the cozy confines of the bookstore, mingling with the scent of freshly brewed tea and old paperbacks. Outside, the sea breeze carried the distant cry of gulls, a melancholic counterpoint to the joy that blossomed within. Ethan and Claire stood amidst the shelves, their hands intertwined, their eyes reflecting the soft glow of the setting sun. Around them, the books seemed to hum with silent approval, their spines whispering tales of love that had endured. They had found each other in the most unexpected of ways, brought together by a shared love of stories and a destiny that had been silently written in the stars. As the daylight faded and the shop grew dim, they knew they had a lifetime of Thursdays ahead of them, each one a testament to the power of unspoken feelings and the beauty of a love that had finally found its voice. So there you have it, a love story that unfolded not in grand gestures, but in the quiet moments of everyday life. A story that reminds us that sometimes the most profound connections are made in silence, and that love, in its purest form, needs no words to be spoken. We hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Your support means the world to us. And with that, we wrap up today's tale. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep an eye out for the magic that surrounds you. And remember, sometimes the most beautiful stories are the ones that remain unspoken until they find their perfect reader. Take care, and we'll see you soon.